Is it a bird? Is it a plane? Is it a suspicious balloon? Sort of, except these balloons fight back. Yes, the Kharadron Overlords Battletome is here, and the Lords of the Skies of the Mortal Realms have made touchdown here at Warhipster Towers, and boy do they mean business. The Battletome has very kindly been sent to me early by Games Workshop to review for all of you, and that is exactly what we're going to do. So a massive thank you to them, of course. Now, it's been a little while since we did a Battletome review video, but you guys should remember the drill. So let's jump in and ask the question. Who are the Kharadron Overlords? But just before we do that, and I'm sorry, I have to ask, it's in the fine print, you see. YouTubers have to take a thumbnail with a shocked face, and we have to ask you to subscribe to the channel, comment below about your excitement for insert product X, and like the video. I mean, all that stuff is applicable. Please do that. It's a great way to support the channel for free, and we're so close to 35k now. So who am I to argue with the rules? That's why I'm asking. Those are the rules. Yes, I know. They come from grim and glowering clouds, their aethematic guns blazing. Harpoons pierce the flesh of giants, cannons roar like the wrath of ancient gods. In a storm of fire, the ground is torn to furrows, and the enemy ranks are flung apart as if by invisible hands. Yet the Dwarden behind the guns are no eldritch force, no mages seeking to twist reality to their own ends. These realm-shaking weapons are artifacts born of logic. The Kharadron Overlords are proponents of reason, of science, and of fair commerce, or fair to their own coffers at least. These are the masters of the shrewd deal and the efficient exploit. They harness the material world in all its splendour, and they use every iota of advantage it gives them to survive. Innovating as a matter of course, where once their ancestors clung to tradition like a drowning man to a spar of driftwood, in the ever-hostile reaches of the mortal realms, they have no other choice. The Kharadron are called godless, for they care not for placing their destinies in the hands of another. Those deities they once held most precious abandoned them when they were needed the most. They put their faith instead in cold, certain metal, and the merciless exploitation of gaseous ether gold. Yet, with the return of the great maker Grungni, the Kharadron have a chance to turn a new page in the graven ledgers of their history. Look to the skies, say the trading partners of the Kharadron, for salvation can come at the last moment. If the winds are well, it may yet arrive in a thunderous crash of cannon fire loosed by an armada of sky vessels. But such good fortune comes at a cost, and for those saved by the Dwarden's coming, there will always be a heavy price. Long ago in the age of myth, the forefathers of the Dwarden built their homes and grew vast empires under the mountains of the mortal realms. They didn't really know the truth of their origins as a race, but they instinctively believed in their right to rule the peaks of the mortal realms from within the mountains themselves. As the early Dwarden civilizations began to flourish, the early clans came together and formed the Khazalid Empire. Trade blossomed throughout the realms with the likes of men and even elves, and though the Dwarden were as stubborn as ever, all was well. But as we know by now, the age of chaos was yet to fall upon the mortal realms, and already the dark gods coveted the wealth and souls of the Khazalid Empire. As reality split and demons of chaos broke upon the lands, the age of chaos began, and the Dwarden retreated to their mountains. They were safe, and no foe would ever dare to assault such a powerful and insurmountable position. The Khazalid Empire reasoned they would wait out this foe, and they would endure. And for a time, they were right. But as always, with such things, they weren't right for very long. Slaanesh whispered in the ears of miserly Dwarden kings. Tzeentch deceived and confused mighty merchants. The demons of Khorne, relentless in their pursuit of blood and skulls for their patron, battered aside the stout defences under a ceaseless wave of blood and violence. Entire clanholds were sealed shut, dooming those inside to suffer from the plagues of Nurgle infesting the helpless Dwarden within, and through all of this, Valea, Grimnir and Grungni were nowhere to be found. They had abandoned their people. Valea fading into myth, Grimnir slain at the feet of the god-pieced Volcatrix, and Grungni had turned his back on the Dwarden. They were alone, beset on all sides, and they were fated, it seemed, to die. But Dwarden ingenuity should never be underestimated. The direst of circumstances led to the most drastic options. The mountains were not safe, nor was the earth, but the skies could be. They set to work crafting and inventing the first sky vessels to turn the tide against the forces of chaos, but the innovation didn't stop there. They began to wonder if the docks and ports themselves could be moved to the skies, along with the people of the Khazalid Empire. Could the Dwarden themselves leave behind the earth? It was sacrilege, but it was necessary. And after many deaths and great sacrifice, those great innovators were successful, and the earliest ancestors of what would be the Kharadron Overlords left the earth behind. Those who remained paid the ultimate price. Many, many years passed, and the Kharadron Overlords flourished, continuing to innovate and strengthen and grow in numbers unseen by the denizens of the mortal realms. They were only threatened by the winged hosts of chaos, and it was simple enough to stay away, hidden in the clouds, and murderous if ever they got too close. The Age of Sigmar dawned, and as civilization began to return to the mortal realms, tentatively the Kharadron began to as well. Trading with the cities raised up in Sigmar's name, with the return of the Azerite hosts came survivors of their long-distant cousins in the Dispossessed and the Fireslayers. Dwarden culture had survived the Age of Chaos, and whilst they would never admit it, there was some relief to see that Dwarden had lived up to their stout nature. The true extent of the power of the Kharadron Overlords, however, isn't known by any save maybe the most grand of admirals, and of course, to one other. Grungni. Grungni has returned, finally revealing himself after all of this time. At Vindicarum and the events leading to it, he appeared as a greybeard of little importance, but steered the Kharadron towards uniting as an enormous sky fleet to save the city from the forces of Be'lakor. He attended the Grand Conclave of Exchelsis and counselled the Celestant Prime no less that peace with Morathi was a better course of action, despite what she had done to Anvilgard, now named Har-Kuron. He assisted Sigmar once more to reforge the Stormcast Eternals again into more stalwart gear, to better brave the realms after Be'lakor's cruel pollution of the skies, threatening their very immortality. Grungni was returned, and the Kharadron were hopeful and angry, but mostly indifferent. Why was he back? Only he knew, and it was only Grungni who could explain. For now, though, the Kharadron Overlords prosper, and all is well, but they are yet to be truly tested. Much of the Kharadron Overlords story is yet to be written as one of the slightly newer factions of Age of Sigmar, except they're not that new now. What are they, 4 years old? There's still a long way for them to go, and they are a really exciting and unique way to play the game with their transports. They've got a very, very different aesthetic to a lot of other things, and yet they are still very noticeably Age of Sigmar. They're very, very cool. You should collect them, if you haven't already. So let's take a look at how they play on the tabletop. Established Kharadron Overlords fans will find this book familiar, but with a few interesting tweaks. Firstly, you no longer are locked to one famous skyport or a custom one. Now everyone can use the custom code regardless of the skyport you choose. You still pick from one of 6 famous skyports such as Barak Zilfin, which will give you an additional rule. Zilfin's magnificent sky vessels allows you to pick one additional Great Endrin work for your army. Once you've picked a skyport, you can then pick one article, one amendment, and one footnote, and these are also active for your army. These are army-wide rules or one-off abilities, but an example of an article is Honor is Everything. When a Kharadron Overlords unit receives the rally command, you can return one slain model to the unit for each 4+ instead of each 6. There's 3 articles, 3 amendments, and 3 footnotes to choose from, and you have access to all of them. So that's awesome. In addition, there are 3 Iron Sky command abilities unique to the Kharadron that they can issue to sky vessels. The commands can be issued by Archanaut admirals, and sky vessels can issue them to themselves. The newest one here, as Fly High and Disengage should be familiar to Kharadron Overlords fans, is Combat Landing, allowing any units embarked in a transport vessel to immediately disembark at the end of the movement phase rather than before the sky vessel has already moved. You have a choice of 6 command traits in your enhancement section, and you have 6 artifacts of power to choose from, of course, as with everyone else in the Age of Sigmar, but what you also have are the Great Endrin Works. You can always take 1 Great Endrin Work, and you have a ton to choose from: 6 for the Ironclad, 4 for the Frigate, and 3 for the Grundstock Gun Hauler. I really like the last word for the Archanaut Ironclad, which lets an Ironclad pick 1 enemy unit that finished a charge move in that phase within 3 inches of the Ironclad. The Ironclad can then shoot that enemy unit with its Great Sky Cannon, Great Sky Hook, or Great Volley Cannon. A little charge deterrent if ever I saw one. The grand strategies and battle tactics are here as well, and I really like them. Defend the flagship as a grand strategy can only be picked if you have an Archanaut Admiral as your general, and you can score it if the general is not slain and the sky vessel picked to be their flagship has not been destroyed. I think that's really cool. There's 2 core battalions in here as well, called the Attack Squadron, which consists of 2 Archanaut frigates and 2 Archanaut company units, with an additional 3rd for both, and the Escort Wing, which consists of 2 Grundstock Gun Haulers and a unit of Grundstock Thunderers. Neither of them have the 1-drop rule, but the Attack Squadron does allow for all-out attack or all-out defense to be issued once per battle to a unit in this battalion without the command point being spent, as well as the At the Double or Forward to Victory command once per battle without a command point being spent. The Escort Wing lets the all-out attack or Unleash Hell command to be issued to a unit in the battalion once per battle without a command point being spent, so that's nice too. So let's build a list, shall we? Firstly, your only generic battle line unit here is Archanaut Company. Endrin Riggers our battle line, if you include any Endrin Masters, and there's a couple of different battle line if units, such as the Archanaut Frigate in a Barak Zilfin army, Grundstock Gun Haulers in a Barak Urbaz army, Thunderers in a Barak Nar army, and Sky Wardens in a Barak Zon army. With that in mind, here's something I've concocted. What we have here is a Barak Zilfin army. This is because I want that extra Great Endrin Work. And leading the force, we of course have an Admiral. This way I can get myself a flagship in the form of the Archanaut Ironclad right there at the bottom, but we'll get to that in just a second. We have a Code Right, we have an Etheric Navigator, an Endrin Master with Endrin Harness, 2 Archanaut Frigates, 2 squads of Endrin Riggers, 2 Grundstock Thunderers, and of course the Ironclad. This list, whilst we won't go into all of it, it is really very simple. You have 2 large boats and 1 really large boat, and everything else starts embarked. We have the Ironclad as our flagship that contains the Admiral, the Endrin Master, the Navigator and the Code Right, whilst our 2 frigates contain a unit of Grundstock Thunderers each and are accompanied by a unit of Endrin Riggers. The idea here is guns. Lots of guns. And you want to keep your boats nice and repaired. The true power of the force is in the boats, and whilst there's an argument for more ground troops, I like the idea of the majority of the army staying afloat. You have the speed to overwhelm the enemy in sections, the ability to rewrite the army rules on the fly with the Code Right, and at least 1 unit to repair each boat. If your opponent is killing the Endrin Riggers and not the frigate, then you've already won. You pick 3 objectives and you go and capture them with a sky vessel and its contents, and because you are Barak Zilfin, you also get to pick 2 Endrin Works. Lovely stuff. Whilst we're not going into all of the war scrolls, as there's so much choice here in terms of war gear and all of that, you can outfit your army to do whatever you like. There's more than enough killing power here to deal with most things in the Age of Sigmar, and, well, the repairability and the speed you have is enough to keep your enemy where you want them, roughly 12 inches away and staring down the barrel of your cannons. You don't really want to be in combat, but that's why you made your home in the skies. So there you have it, guys. Battletome Kharadron Overlords. Very quick look inside the book and a couple of different highlights of some really exciting rules. The ones that I thought looked really, really cool. There's lots of synergy in here and lots of things that you can do with the book. I think Kharadron Overlords players will be exceptionally happy with this one. It's really, really cool and very, very flexible. That's what having lawyers does for you. Code rights. That's what we should be calling them. Adam, you are now a code right. I think there's a lot of fascinating combinations that could be had with this army. There's serious firepower here, and they are not to be trifled with. Or are they? Find out soon in Battletome, Kharadron Overlords. If you enjoyed this video, you love the channel, and you want to support me further like these legends and bosses on the screen before you, you can do so. Head to patreon.com/Warhipster or head to ko-fi.com/Warhipster. Alternatively, you could become a YouTube member by heading to the channel page and clicking on the join button just here, just like these amazing, wonderful people have done. And if you really like this video or you just want to shoot me some support, you can click on the thanks button just below this video. Don't forget to share it, like it, comment on it, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And to make sure you stay up to date, don't forget to click the bell icon. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all very soon in the next one. Happy wargaming.